Screen's all
He
different.
said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he left before you said 1.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live here on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's segment is partially sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee. So thank you, Folgers. We love you lots. Anyway, in order to participate in tonight's show, you will have to head over to the UFO Paranormal Radio Network YouTube page, subscribe, as we will also be airing simultaneously on Twitch and multiple Facebook UPRN accounts. So you can join in the chat room on all platforms. We will see all your comments and questions here on the show soundboard. However, we can only respond to you immediately on the YouTube chat. We will, however, be happy to address other comments and questions as we go along if time allows, but we will see them. So I know. So tonight is lots of fun because we have our fearless leader, Joe Montaldo, joining us tonight. And we're going to be talking about alien disclosure. Is it a thing? If so, what and who? That's a big one. Who can we expect? So it's going to be a great segment. Settle yourselves in, hopefully with a nice cup of hot Folgers coffee. That would be really outstanding. And I know I'm not going to see
No,
that
I'm
right
having
in there.
I'm having a crazy butt day. But oh my god.
Crazy
Seriously.
butt day, no less.
Yeah, because I can't say the other words, so I don't
know if you heard Michael's show earlier on the Red Pill. Oh my god. I'm laughing.
I didn't. I caught the
laughing
end.
my freaking head off. I'm like, this is bloody amazing.
That's funny.
It was great. So it's just a great show. I just love listening to it. Just awesome.
Oh my god. I tuned in at the last minute and I didn't even recognize his voice. Sounded so different.
Okay, so I'm just adding to the profile, so we're good to go.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there with the sharing because Facebook wouldn't let me in.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, it's just been one of those days. What happened to Canada's Most Haunted?
I don't know. It's just one of those days, I suppose. Go figure that.
It certainly is. It's been eventful. Okay, I've done it now. I posted it. My earbud's not working. It's not staying in my ear, and my laptop is charging because it didn't charge overnight. Figure that one out.
Okay, I have to go approve this too, I guess. Apparently. Yes. I don't even know why it's not doing that. Do you approve it when you go into CMH? Just asking. There we go.
I don't approve anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't approve anything. I don't think I can.
I don't understand why not.
I don't know. It doesn't even tell me that I've shared it.
Okay. I will watch for it as we go along. So
I just did it now.
Oh, you approved it?
No, maybe Allison did. She's on.
Okay, maybe she did. All right, we'll leave it at that for now. So tonight I'm kind of excited. There's all this buzz going around. Well, I mean, Joe's here, so hey, Joe. How's it going?
I'm just hanging out. Yeah.
So do you notice kind of how there's all this crazy buzz going around? It's been going on now probably for a couple of years, but really hot and heavy so far in 2021 about disclosure. So I thought, you know what? It'd be interesting to just sort of touch on it. So, what exactly is disclosure? Is it a thing? If it is a thing, how are we supposed to prepare for something like that? What are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to see? So can you start getting us?
I would suggest being very nice to Bubbles the Gray first off. that might be some of the probing going on. So I'm just saying. I'm just
not with me. Not with me. Nothing happens here. Nothing happens
Dell said
here.
She bought an extra long cattle prod. I'm not sure what that was.
Dell said what?
That you bought an extra long cattle prod and electrified.
He did.
He said, "No, you did."
Is that what he's into? That's a northern. That's a northern.
probing last time or something. Yeah,
that's a Northern Ontario thing. It doesn't happen down south.
Oh,
Just
Dal.
I'm just gonna let that one go. I don't know what
Oh,
these people
Dal.
are talking about around here.
That's
I
funny.
always get picked on. You should be careful with that. You should be careful with that. Sometimes I break.
Yeah, that's okay too.
Be nice
We
to
have super
Bubba.
glue.
There
Yeah,
we
I'll
go.
be. I come back 10 times as hard. Just warning you
We
now.
have super glue.
What is that?
I'm just saying we have super glue. This is
It's
Oh, it
black.
went off.
Black.
It went off.
It's
it went
black.
off. Let's see if it's got the names on it. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So this was a very nice gift from some friends of ours they host on our network, Writers of the Future.
Plug. You're welcome.
Yeah.
They're with the, and they take very good care. Sent me a nicely fully loaded iPad. I mean, maxed out, largest one you get, maxed out so I can see real good.
There we
along
go.
with everything L. Ron Hubbard ever wrote, drew, or put in the audio, all their audio books on, including the new ones that are coming out. That I've got private access to them. Like, oh yeah, I feel so special.
Well, you're obviously very smitten, so that's a good thing.
They good people. And matter of fact, they're going to be on with me tomorrow night. Emily and John Goodwin will be hanging out.
Oh, good. Tell them that Bubbles and I are waiting for ours too.
Well, we're going to be discussing tomorrow night.
Anytime.
The people who are up for the award this year and how you can go vote and where the banners are going to be and how you can
we can get a free iPad with all of.
Oh yeah, you got to be very nice and free. Hey, look, I go take their writers courses. And stuff. I actually enjoy. I've been learning a lot from them, to be honest with you, because I can write about as well. When I go there. I've been through their writing course twice now. And I do understand everything a lot better. And it does make more sense to me now how to fill in the filler, but still, I'm just not a writer. I got 3 books outlined sitting next to me, and I still can't write.
At least you gave it an effort. Some people never even try. And yeah, that's all right, though. That's all right. Don't sell yourself short.
That's what ghostwriters are for.
The last ghostwriter wanted to go on tour for me. I'm like, wait, what? I said, wait, you want to write the book for me in my name and go on tour for me? I said, I'm not thinking that's going to work for me. I'm just not feeling that. I said, you can come with me if you like. I said, but I'm just not feeling you're the writer. You're not the expert that's been doing this all your life.
That's crazy.
Yes, through the lights.
Yeah, Michelle's having a grand old time at her place.
Storm's over, so now it's just all kinds of stuff moving around tonight. Yeah, just watch. You probably see something, hear something. I'm hearing all kinds of shit. Just saying. Welcome to my world.
I feel like I gotta put my chin over my name. It's weird. I'm just gonna have to go bye. I can see it.
Because you look like you're reclined. Just saying.
I mean, actually,
that's what it looks
what it is, because I'm usually in the office chair, which is higher than this chair.
So get yourself a cushion. Bring a hiney.
A booster for your short butt. Because you're so short. You need a booster.
No,
I look taller than you, and I'm a foot shorter than you.
No, I'm a foot shorter than Michelle right now. It's
the only tall one here. Just saying.
Yeah. That's it. Just Michelle.
It's weird. This chair is comfortable. It's not going to work for a radio chair. Oh, we're sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're just off in business instead of radio. But,
don't feel bad. I can't even reach my floor with mine so high up.
It's funny because Stephen Bissett's a good friend of mine. He's a disclosure guy. He's been doing disclosure since 2000. And he's always telling me how we're going to get disclosure and all. And I would love to see disclosure. I really would. But I got a lot of friends in the government and they're involved in a lot of different projects. And we'll take a side note from a little conspiracy. So I'm talking to a friend of mine we'll just say works security in the government. Leave it at that. Way up there. So he calls me. He said, I hear you getting COVID. I'm like, how did you hear that? I'm like, really? Where did you hear that? So I'm like, 4 people knew. I'm like, he's all what? I'm like, I said, what, are you checking the registry for my name or something? What the hell's going on here? Yep. And he said, I was glad. He said, because I was going to urge you to get it. I'm like, well, he said, I got mine. I said, well, why are you such an urge? He said, because they're going to come up with a virus that for the non-vaccinated, it's going to kill a big chunk of the population. He said, this is the reason they're doing it is they want to see who's compliant. And that's who they want to save.
Wow.
Off. And I was like, I said, yeah, I'm not big on conspiracies, but it was one of them out of left field things. And I said, well, you just effing me. He said, no, I'm not. He said, this is a good way for them to get the people who want to be followers and get rid of the people who don't want to be. He said they're kind of bringing in the sheep, herd them into one big herd, and killing off the wolves. I was like, okay, well, thanks for that enlightenment there, Bobby.
Yeah, but when the non-followers refuse to take the vaccine, just saying.
And they're going to die. Just saying. They're going to kill them all off. Anybody who's not on the vaccine is going to die. They're going to release a virus that's specifically designed for people who are on COVID vaccine, won't touch them. It's supposed to be like a variant of the one that's around now, but it's just about 100 times more virulent. It just kills pretty much anybody who gets into it. And so the ones that are not protected will get it. I'm like, well, I'm glad for you. I said, that's not why I'm getting it, but still. I said, I'm getting it as the guinea pig because I got a lot of friends and a lot of family and even hosts, because I'm the only one on network so far it's even got the shot, syndicated or non-syndicated hosts out of a whole bunch of past and present. Currently out of like 150 hosts, I'm the only one that's gotten the shot. So, and I told a couple of friends, I called my business partner, my son, I said, give it a couple weeks. If I don't turn into a zombie, we'll go from there. If I do, well, run like hell is all I can tell you. Because I'll be.
Because Joe will freaking eat anything anyway to start.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. I'll be.
The vaccine's not going to do anything to him. He's got it taken care of.
I know, it's like Insta food. It's just like cracking off as I go by.
It's been 5 hours since I got it, so no real side effects so far.
Which one did you get, Joe? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson. Now, I'll tell you what kind of bothered me a little bit. It made Bobby's story sound a little more plausible. First thing they told me, well, your shot's going to be registered with the state. What do you mean my shot's going to be? Matter of fact, where's it at? It's over there. I'll have to get it for y'all. But yes, I'm registered with the state as I'm safe now. That scares me. Somebody said, well, that's a good thing for you. I'm like, no, it's not a good thing. This is a free society. Now all of a sudden you're going to have
but it's the same here. We get registered with Health Canada. So it's the same idea.
Absolutely. They take everything.
We're used to that.
You have to be registered here because they take your insurance card.
And see, that's another thing. They're like, well, even if you don't have insurance, you can get it. They don't care.
No, here it's the Ontario insurance. Like all of Canada has health insurance. So your card goes in automatically as a citizen.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, but yeah. There's your new passport, Joe.
Yeah, that's pretty much
your new passport.
And actually, I was told if I do go, I will need that attached to the passport. But anyway, you travel. So, guys, the country's feeling a little bit more communist as we go along. And I was thinking, under the madman, why didn't I hear that? Under the madman Trump, it looked like we were going to open up, go back to space, get into some other stuff, get some disclosure going, and then poof. I told a good friend of mine, I said, when he ordered documents released, I said, that was it. He won't be president again. He's like, what do you mean? I said, because they don't want that shit released. He's not going to get reelected. They're like, no way. I said, I'm telling you, dude. I said, he's going to win in a way that he ain't going to be able to challenge, and that's exactly what happened. Losing by 5 million votes, that's unchallenged. There's no reason to even challenge that. Even if unless you can prove absolute cheating, you're just wasting your time. Because the country's not going to get behind you if you lost that bad. And he broke, and the funny part about him is he broke so many records in his re-election bid and still lost. So, But, it's one of them things. Did aliens bring COVID? I don't know. Maybe they did. I doubt it. I don't see where it would serve their purposes.
I have my own, just thoughts on that, but I'll leave it right there.
Well, we
don't want to get kicked off another network.
On another side note, we're putting together a petition because we want to do a COVID special, but we don't want to get banned off of every network we're on. So I actually wrote to Facebook about this. So Facebook said, well, can you not do it live and do it as a pre-record? I said, yes, I can. He said, well, send us a copy and if we got any issues, we'll tell you ahead of time. Now, that was nice of them because it could have just been,
Yeah, and said, no way, don't do it.
Controlling it.
And then banned the page. And since we're broadcast on 4 of their pages now, it's 4 instant bans. So we know. So I haven't got a response from YouTube yet at all. Let's see how that goes. Everybody else didn't even care. All the rest of our pod servers and even our live servers, they're like, whatever, Joe. We know you're not going to get crazy.
Well, they don't answer to the FBI, so they're okay.
YouTube, unfortunately, has gotten to be not a fun place to be anymore. It seems to be issues, and it used to be a great place for sharing stuff and keeping stuff, but there's still, I don't want to sell them short because there's still a wealth of material there. But if you talk about anything that's outside the norm, you risk getting kicked.
Feels like communism.
And then they don't even want to give you. In the old days, if you had a copyright issue or something like that, they would tell you, "Hey, look, just remove it from your video, and you can put your video back in." They don't even give you that option anymore. They just delete your video. Like really, and it does. It feels like communism at its finest. But maybe that's aliens doing that too. Yeah. Stop blaming aliens, people, for everything. And they love you. The aliens love you. They think all y'all taste. Wonderful.
Yeah, I bet.
They think you're wonderful. I did hear they like Canadians better because y'all have lower cholesterol. So.
Sure.
But
we're diabetic because all we eat is maple syrup.
I used that joke somewhere, and they said, "Well, I guess they don't even go to Ethiopia." I'm like, yes, I could even believe I said that on stage.
That is just crazy.
So let's get back on track with disclosure. So it is a thing. Nobody knows what's going to happen. We do know when it's going to happen. People are saying, people are saying fall 2021, like within a year's time. We're way off of that. I think it's happened. It's been happening for a long time, slowly.
And you're right about that. It is happening a long time. One of the very first bets I ever won in ufology was doing Stephen
Bacon, Tom Rivers.
And bacon? Tom, I thought you were vegan.
Oh, I thought you said naked. No naked people allowed, man.
Sorry, Joe. Okay, so I mean, with abductions, contactees, experiencers, they're basically, that is a form of contact.
And like I like to tell everybody all the time, all the people who needed to be disclosed to have been disclosed to. The aliens don't care if we ever disclose, because as far as they're concerned, everybody who needs to know already knows.
Right.
Everybody they're taking already knows, so they're not so much worried about what our government thinks. For our government to disclose, you got to give them some. I've been telling this to Stephen Bissett and all the disclosure people forever. What are you going to give to the government to protect them? So let's say tomorrow somehow Joe Biden, Madman Biden, comes out and says, aliens are real. They're coming here taking up people. They've been doing this for however. The next thing's coming out of my mouth. I'm suing the government for letting it go. Okay, every contactee, and there'll be abductees, contactees coming out of the woodwork. Next thing you know, there'll be 5 million, 500 million in the United States suing.
And how many we don't hear about, right, Joe? Like there's
but
so
even
many
the ones
that
going
don't
real will
forward.
be an opportunity to make, because you're not going to be able to prove it. So what's Biden going to do? Well, Mr. Gray, was John Lynn there or Bob Castle? I need to know because they're asking for money from us now for allowing this. It's more than that. I mean, the fact of the secrets that government's been keeping as far as their technologies, what's been going on, what they've been doing to our citizens, what they've been doing to world citizens. No one's going to take this in a good way. Everybody's going to be pissed. Even though we'll be enlightened at this alien contact, as long as it's friendly, we're still going to be pissed that our government allowed this to go on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 decades without even bothering telling anybody. That's going to be a hard thing to get past. Then you've got all these people that allowed it to go on. So a lot of them are dead. You won't have to worry about it. But a lot of them are not. They'll be looking for criminal investigations, criminal charges. They'll be looking at presidents and vice presidents and heads of CIAs. And the bitch part is not all of them even know. So right now, Joe Biden don't know if aliens are real or not. They never told about them. He might have suspected, but Obama never needed to know. It wasn't his presidency. Trump knew, but Trump knew for a different reason. Trump had allies. He had found it, and Baby Bush found out only because Daddy Bush told him. That's why he went back to freaking Iraq in the first place. We were trying to get something from Iraq, and then we just stopped the war because we blew up some kids. Well, not some kids, but we blew up what's his name's kids. We killed one of his daughter, 2 of his sons in a raid on his castle.
Would be for oil.
But so they were looking for something else. Most people think it's some type of portal technology, a gate technology. It's been around for about 100 years. They said somebody over there has had possession of a gate, and the government's been over there trying to get it. So that we blew it the first time, but Bush went back. And he spent 8 years over there, and you notice they ransacked every museum, every place. They went to every art center, any government facilities on the ground, any storage places. They went through everything. They were looking for something. You could tell they were looking for something. We'll just never know what it was, but they were after something over there. And so, knowing those kind of secrets and all that stuff will have to be made out. All the stuff that went on at Area 51, if we've ever captured UFOs, if we've had alien visitation, to the government itself. All of that will have to be disclosed. And that's just, there'll be one person after another wanting to sue. There'll be hatred. It'll just, and then there's the other problem. Are we ready for disclosure? So as Canada, y'all got what, 40 million people up there. How many of 40 million are ready for disclosure? All of them? I doubt that.
Well, that just leads to the whole question, because you see it everywhere, all over the news, all over social media. I mean, people, I think everybody's sort of known that they've been there. I mean, have they been living under, layers of ice, let's say in Antarctica? Have they been hidden in the oceans, deep in the mountain ranges, hidden in underground caverns? Like, have they been here all along? I think people, do you think they're interested now because, let's face it, we do have space, exploration and advancements. We're talking about colonizing Mars. We're talking about taking trips to Mars. I mean, when we should really be doing things on our own planet, that we're actually moving off the planet. But do you think it's because, do people maybe feel that they're not safe, that something's coming, that they need to fear, and they're thinking aliens are going to come and save us? Like, why does disclosure even matter if they've been here all along? We know they're there.
Well,
some people don't, like you say, they don't really want to know, and they just want to go and live their lives inconspicuously, just catching things out of the corner of your eye. If you see them, you see them. If you don't, you don't.
Well, it's like we'll use North America for a good example. So we got Mexico, United States, and Canada, North America, roughly 500 million people between us. So when you look at our countries and you do a survey on, do you think aliens exist? 75, maybe 80% will say yes. Even the religious people now will say yes. Now, the other question, do you think alien is visiting our planet? That will be anywhere from 25 to 50%, just depending on what areas. What I mean by that is, if we went to Quebec, Toronto, and took it, it would be much lower. If we went out to BC and took it, it would be much higher, because they have a different culture out there. To the paranormal, the more into ufology in general. They're just a different society. You'll find the same thing in the United States. You get into New York City, belief in paranormal and UFOs will be way down, 18, 20, 25%. You get into the South, it'll be a little bit higher, 30 or 40%, but the religious will be pushing it down. You get into Heartland, another place, you get out west, it'll be higher. It'll be 50, 60, even 70% out west. So it's a different kind of mindset. But in general, if you just had to do it by the 500 million, I would give 250 million that could handle disclosure. I don't even think they're ready for it. I think only about 100 million of that is ready for it. What I think about it is you've got to be able to accommodate this into your life. So what are you going to start doing? So people are going to start thinking, oh, well, they're here. They come to eat us. They're going to wipe us out. Why are they here? Why have they been here so long? What the hell?
Yeah, the Hollywood effect.
So it's going to take a while. And they'll have to earn our trust. And starting off by abducting people for 10,000 years is not a good way to earn our trust. So there'll be those kind of things that'll have to be dealt with. And then, a lot of humans just won't be able to deal with this. At least almost, I would say 80% of the Indian population, 70, 80% of the Chinese population, good chunk of Africa and South America will consider these things to be evil demons of some sort. Sky gods and shit like that. They're not going to just fall into, they're aliens.
No.
You might get a third of the planet right off the bat that might be ready to even deal with this, but even that's going to be tough. Because saying you can deal with it and deal with it is two different things. I mean, look at COVID. COVID, compared to aliens coming to live on our planet, is mild comparisons. And we see what kind of disaster it's caused.
Absolutely.
And then what's the other thing? Are we going to quarantine the aliens? We're going to quarantine the planet from the aliens and vice versa. I mean, we're just, as a society, when you watch the fights, the political divides in religion and politics, we're just not ready. And I would like to be one of the first ones to say that maybe it would unite us as a planet, like Ronald Reagan said. An alien invasion would probably unite the planet. Maybe it might not. There are some fundamental differences between China and the United States and the rest of the world. So I don't know if it can be united. Right now, the only way this planet could be united would be through force. There's no other way to do it right now. And even though 80% would probably get behind Europe and the United States, still, Russia and China are going to get together, and that's a big thing to deal with. That's a billion, 500 million people armed to the teeth. Russia got as many nukes as we do. But now, what China's got, Russia's got more. And China's got big surface fleet. So And how are they going to deal with it? And who are the aliens going to contact first? Is it going to be like a worldwide thing?
Wow.
Good evening, Earth. We're not here to invade, even though we have a big ship over every city, and every human's going to think of movies like V and
Independence Day.
The day the Earth stood.
Yeah.
They'll be out there with shotguns and rocket launches. Oh my God. They'll be starting the damn war, not even know what they're doing.
You raise another question then, because there's all of these species, allegedly other races. Who do you think would be the first to disclose? Like, who do you think would be the first to come forward?
It would have to be the Greys. They're the ones that they work for light beings, and that's who's in charge of the council. So they'd have to be the Greys. They would be the official spokesperson. Not to say some other races could come on their own. I mean, I don't know how it works, if they'll let them or not, but so far none of them have. So,
right.
People always like to remind me of, well, Joe, Valiant Thor. I said, Valiant Thor is my ass. Valiant Thor, he's a good-looking man. His old lady was good-looking too. I mean, it's a good-looking couple. That's straight out of Hollywood somewhere. But that was not. If they got them kind of hot aliens running around, and male and female humans better tighten up. Is all I can say, buddy, because we fall off from good-looking compared to that group. It's you don't want to be out there second-rate citizens in the universe. So a lot of the stuff
it's a good thing the owner of the network's not listening.
Like you bad.
Can I just add something? Ask something actually. You mentioned the Greys, and that's probably for those of us who are just learning, like myself. That's probably the most common. Most of us are not aware that there's more than one race. Yes.
In today's society, but if you go back just 2,000 years, the reptilians and humans were the most popular. So there's actually been three races here for a long time. The humans and the reptilians were here longer, but the Greys showed up. It's like, if we had to put a date on it, it would be maybe somewhere between 1 and 3,000 years BC. I'm sorry, not 1 to 300 BC. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So 1 or 200, 300 years before Christ is probably when they showed up. And after that, everything changed. It seems like before they got here, it was just reptilians and Greys. Reptilians and humans who seemed to have been button heads and trying to rewrite our population or edit our population, like a good way of saying it. Because they had their own, because we all got that reptilian section in our brain, which, I've done at least 1,000 radio shows. Yeah, all of us do. And see, I always get that. What? No, yeah.
Well,
no.
You're freaking me out because it's reptilians, right? So you're freaking me out a little bit here. Just saying.
So without that, you're a sheeple. That's what you are. You're a slave.
I'm going to fall under my desk and disappear.
And according to the Sumerians, what happened is some aliens came here prior to Sumerian civilization and built the civilization. The original aliens came here, couldn't even live on our planet. Well, they could live here, but they couldn't breathe there. Yeah, they had to build dome cities. It's actually mentioned in the writings, and they created what they call the 7 creations of man, one of which was almost identical to them, except it could breathe the planet's air. That race decided, for some reason or another, we're not going to go mine the fields. We're not going to plow nothing. We're not going to do any of this. We're omnipotent super beings. We'll create a race to do it. And they created, at the end of the 7 creations of man, there was a species like us, almost identical to us, except for they didn't have really free will. They didn't understand why they existed. So if I asked you, did you understand your existence or why you exist? You would at least acknowledge that, yes, it's a complicated question and it's something you're working on. But they didn't even have that. There was none of that. Why do I exist? Why? And, and somebody told you, get out there and plow the field, scrub the floor. You're going to be like, excuse me, bitch. They weren't. They're going to go out and do it without question. So there's a difference between them. Well, the reptilians are the ones that changed that. They have stories of reptilians coming in and stealing their women, raping their women, and the women would have children, and the children were born differently. And those children were born differently. In the beginning, I thought it was in looks, but we found out what it was in personality. They became self-aware. They're like, screw you, you plowed a field. They outnumbered the aliens like 800 to 1. So that's when Samaria was born, in the end of the occupation of the human-type aliens. And they talk about in great detail: 6 fingers, 6 toes, tall, blonde. They almost sound like Hitler's people. Or Hitler met them later on, more than likely, because Hitler gave an identical description to what several others does. We're pretty sure that they were probably groomed, or Hitler was probably groomed by them. In the book Mon Kampf, he mentions these tall, white-haired aliens, angels that used to come visit him and talk about things like genetic mutations and experiments. Yeah, I don't think no angels talk about that shit. That sounds like something straight out of aliens. But it's also an interpretation, so you got to be careful when you get into interpretation. But But the part about what
excuse me,
straightforward. And when you listen to descriptions of people giving alien descriptions, they sound just exactly like what Hitler's talking about. So that was a strange thing in itself. It sounds like maybe somewhere along the line, but it would have made sense because at the turn of the century before last, Germany was the most advanced country in the world. Not America, not Russia, not China. It was Germany by far too. They were leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. And like going into World War II and all, they were still way ahead of everybody technologically. So if you're an advanced race, you're coming here to visit, you're going to go visit the most advanced culture. That was them, not us. So that may have changed during the war along the lines of maybe the aliens just realized, oh, what are these crazy bastards we hooked up with? I don't think the human aliens care. I think the human aliens really wanted them to work that way. For the human aliens, it seems genetic engineering is the way to go because they engineered us. But then the reptilians came in. And that's so we all got this little reptilian section in our brain who makes us who we are. It's our driving, don't screw with me. It gives you that ambition, that extra kick. Without it, you would be way more docile than you are today. Way more. So if somebody can figure out how to burn that, it does more than that. It's also responsible for some other parts of the body. So it's a very significant part of us, even though we never talk about that we have a reptilian section in our brain. So there's only two explanations for it. Either we evolved from reptilians way back when, so you can argue that, or somewhere along the line, reptilian DNA was introduced into our own. It kind of proves the existence of extraterrestrials in itself.
So question. So they come in, they intervene, and I'm just going to slip over to RH negative for the moment, because that is the difference, right? With the different races, is the RH negative, hair color, eye color. Do you think hypothetically, because there's a very minute amount of people, do you think that they would be affected the same way by the pandemic that's going around today and
people have an easier time with it
with other illnesses and diseases? So how do you think they would be affected by the vaccine, the V word?
Oh my God! It's like I'm thinking it and you're speaking it.
Yeah, it's
seriously
that is something we're gonna have to find out now. So this is what I was talking with a group of
that's why
the other night. It was about 25 of us talking. We got to talk about this very thing. So if you're an abductee or a contactee and you're being taken and you're being taken regularly, what? And this is something else that's weird. I only know 3 contactees that even got COVID, and they got very mild versions. Except for myself, they got very mild versions, so that was kind of weird in itself.
Really?
Yeah, but we got to discuss what would we do if we have to take a vaccine? And I said, well, I figure it this way: if ET don't want me taking it, they won't let me have it, or they'll remove it from my body as soon as I'm brought back and put a ship if it's a hindrance. But if it's true what they're saying, and this is to help weed the population in the future, then they would just allow it to stay anyway. Because we don't, we talk about these things all the time and about, this virus came from here. It's a Chinese virus. It's a Wuhan virus. It's whatever virus.
Right.
It came from a lab. It came from that part could be true. Could have been induced by another alien race. Could have just introduced it and said, hey, if you want to defend a herd of a population of our planet, that's the easiest way to do it. Is you see, they're locked down, tight as drums all around the world. It's pretty much stopped our whole planet of 7.5 billion people. Brought it to screeching halt. Now, if we were a spacefaring race right now and we had things out there, this would have never worked. We could have never done this. We could barely do it now. It's barely containable right now with the way it's set up. Because one, humans don't like captivity at all. They don't like being locked down and held down. We're free spirits by nature, and you can say thank you reptilian section for that as well. So when you get back to it, you had these races. There seems to be 3 primary races. Every year, there's 56. I said, show me the craft, show me the Stargate. But prove to me. I said, I have not got 56 different descriptions of aliens. I said, there's 15 or 20 versions of grays, between gray, white, and blue, and then heights and stuff like that, and then where their height lay in the hierarchy. There's at least 9 different types of reptilian, maybe more. Humans are pretty standard, but they're just 6-fingered, 6 toes. They're not all hair, blue eyed. But a friend of mine asked me, he said, "Why is that particular group?" I said, "Think about it." I said, "The reptilians are probably hot and sexy too, just like the Greys." He's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I said, "Think of it like this point: we're only going to send our best and brightest into space, especially into deep space. until we start real colonization, you won't see real human in space until it's real colonization, where everybody gets to go. But until then, no, it's going to be your healthy people, your strong people, the people who are going to do deep space, the people who are going to be out there. They're usually going to be good looking, strong, well built, well educated. That's who's going to be going in the beginning. And so, of course, when you see a ship loaded in, you think, well, your whole planet's like that. Well, hell no, our whole planet is not like that. If you had to judge just from the Apollo missions, if the aliens ever took just the Apollo missions, they'd say, damn, man, that's some tight people down there. They cut like, but that's not true. You get down to Earth, you find a bunch of big bellies walking around and slab floating around and stuff. And I imagine even on other worlds, there's probably some of that goes on as well. Because, if it's a type of free culture.
Can I ask a question? Because I've I've always wanted to know this, but I don't know why I forget to ask, because you're speaking about planets and Mars, and I know a little bit about, because it's on the news a lot, and it's out there about Elon Musk and how they're trying to set up Mars and everything, and that privately it's going to happen a lot quicker than if the government puts the money in, because they'll never get there in time. Now, all these races that you're speaking of with alien races, do they come from the planetary system we know, or are they coming from a whole other?
That's a good question. Well, there's a couple of theories on that. And,
okay.
Think of it this way. So they could be from here. We've got Venus that was like Earth about 60 million years ago. We got Mars that was like Earth about 60 million years ago. We've got Earth, and then there used to be a planet between Mars and the asteroid belt. At first, even today want to argue about it and keep saying, oh, no, it was never developed. But then recently, NASA and a couple of scientists found some minerals that can only be made in a heavy, they have to be really squished together. It's got to be really intense gravity. And you're not going to find that in an asteroid belt unless it was a planet. And the planet was supposed to be about 5 times the size of Earth. So it would have been very dense. On top of that, that's also a description of the Rebrew. Might be why no one's seen the Rebrew in the last million years, because it probably got caught between Mars and Jupiter and destroyed. Or something else happened. It could have been a war. Anyway, whatever happened, you can tell because there was a big catastrophe in the whole solar system. Something blew that planet up, and it sent asteroids flying everywhere. Earth took one. You could see where Mars took one and created Olympus Mons by hitting the side of the planet to large. Venus probably took one because it's in global warming. So you had 4 inhabitable planets, and you were down to none. And Earth was the only one that even reasonably survived. The other ones were total wipeouts. So if you did have a race living on each one of these planets, they would have had to leave and go somewhere else. And since we do talk about humans having a 24-and-a-quarter-hour biological clock at these motion units, it puts us not from Earth, it puts us from a different planet, which maybe would have been Mars, because they have a 24-and-a-quarter-hour day. I remember Elon Musk was talking about this, and I don't know where you heard of that, but he said, I guess I'll feel like at home on Mars because I'll have the right sleep pattern. And some scientists brought this up, that it could be one of the reasons humans have a effed up sleep pattern, because we're out of cycle with Gaia, with Earth.
That's true.
It's not our. People tell me all the time, Gaia loves us. Said Gaia thinks we invading bacteria that one day is going to evict our asses. Jump at it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
When the Greers and all started me about, well, we're killing the planet. I said, we're not killing the planet. We're killing ourselves. We sort of put the planet bust in a core. We can't kill this planet. All we can do is kill ourselves. Earth will go on and create a whole. What is it? Created 6 species. I mean, 6 generations of life on the planet. 5 great extinctions. When she gets pissed, she erases everybody, or somebody comes along and erases everybody. It could be something in space, because most people don't realize it. But the guy the other day, just for an example, he's saying, "Well, we just orbit around the sun, right?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But the sun orbits around the galactic core." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "No, dude." I said, "In case you didn't notice, everything's moving, and it's not just moving; it is hauling ass. I mean, our planet's 63,000 miles an hour, so." We're just cruising through space, and we're moving up and down in a big elliptical pattern as we're going up and down. Anywhere along there, we could be passing through red dwarf masses, because it's about every 180 million years that it seems to happen. So it's kind of like there's a pattern to it. Scientists are just now starting. We've been talking about this for 30 years. They're just now starting to catch on that there might be a pattern. It might be something in space that's like that. It might not be asteroids and meteors. It might be just a section of space we pass through. So it's a reset. So this life here, we might be 50 million years away from that. So if we can't figure it out, we're gonna be resetting, because we can't get off the planet. We're done for. It's just a matter of time for us. And even if we can't get off the planet, we still got, well, barring any weird things like that, what the planet's got about 4 billion years of life left in it. So, don't tell them what we could evolve into. We could be the light beings. Maybe it's why they're so interested in us. We've got the DNA of 3 alien races in us, so maybe they feel like we might surpass them all.
So should that not protect us against like harmful virus?
Well, no, it does protect us against a lot of things. And this is very interesting that this is all coming up because one of the things ICAR discovered about 2 decades ago was the Holocaust stream, and it's still prevalent today. So contactees and abductees, about 1/3 of them get this stream. And what it is it's basically an end of the world scenario where aliens are coming and removing a lot of the contactees and taking them off world. And some of them are allowed to stay. There's a settlement in Seattle, and there's a settlement, I think it's in Australia. But everywhere else is going to be inhabited by different types of races. They're going to make it like they're going to kind of make it like the water world, like an ambassador planet, because they think we've abused it too much. But everybody else would go off. Well, the way it's supposed to happen is it's supposed to be a pandemic. It sweeps the planet in 7 days, killing almost about 84% of the population, 83% of the population. But it's weird because there's some weird mutations, and some people think that might be like zombies. But then you find things like mass grave burials. That people were talking about driving through cities, and at the other side of the city, there would be like military out there just pushing thousands of bodies into a thing and then setting them on fire and then burning them. Then burying them. So, and there were places, camps, where they were being drawn together that had blue plasma fields set up so that the contactees could rejuvenate while waiting to be picked up. Well, apparently the military got hold of this and they got involved with it somehow. But I never really thought about these dreams in the beginning, and we started documenting them because people would write letters to me, so we started documenting. Then a friend of mine, she got ambitious one day and put them all in the database, and when she did, it was like a miracle overnight happened. We started seeing patterns we had just not seen before because, as individual letters, it's hard. But when you can cross-reference everything by a color, a sign, a smell, a word, all kind of stuff started popping up. So we realized that these people were having identical dreams. And these dreams were set in the future, not that far, because when they're talking, they remember seeing their own host body somewhere before they're uploaded, and they know what they look like then. And they're talking about like makes of cars and signs and buildings, because one was driving through Houston, one was driving through Albuquerque. So at the time, in both these dreams, they were talking about things like all the street lights were working. Everything seemed to be working fine. There was no fires. There was no rampaging. There was no people in the streets, but there was cars parked normally. They didn't see any people in the buildings, but every now and then when they'd stop, like to get gas or find food, and they'd get out, they would be identified, like by the building. They would start talking to them. Facial recognition software, which we have today. Just for some reason, our government's decided we're not going to let it be used to sell advertisement. So there was a test market just recently on this where Google was going to, anywhere you went, whatever last thing you shopped for was when you walked in the store, it would say, "Hi, Amelia, did you enjoy your chocolate?" Well, I hate to think if your last thing you bought was porn, you'd be kind of embarrassed when you walked in. But it's one of these technologies that we do have, and it is something that probably will get deployed in our future sometime. But it was things like that, and she had noticed that, a bunch of the car, and see, this was weird about this, how many of them talked about their cars drove themselves. Almost all these women and men were talking about, cars you could drive yourself or drive itself. You could tell it where you're going and just take up and drive it. That's not that far in our future. When originally we started hearing all this, it was 36 years ago, and coming forward. But now these technologies are starting to become available. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's around the corner, but it's at least we're into the phase. We know it's going to be somewhere now. It's not like off 100 million years from now. So now we know it's closer. And it's supposed to be just a disease that sweeps through, and contactees are naturally immune to it. It's in their DNA. And then that might be what the RH negative thing is. It might be the blocker.
I know an RH positive has those apocalyptic dreams, extroverted, all kinds of crazy stuff.
So because I really think all you have to be for it to work.
Actually, I know 2 of them.
So if you're a contactee or abductee, more than likely you're protected from it. And like I said, I don't know any abductees or contactees. ICAR's database currently has 61,000 cases in it. As far as no one's reported any deaths, and I have asked a couple of times. So far, no one's reported any deaths of abductees, contactees, and some of them are older. in their 70s, even some in the 80s, and there doesn't seem to even be phasing. So it's a strange thing, and I'm not saying if you're listening tonight and you are doctor contacted, I'm not saying you're immune. It just seems like it's harder to get. But even that is speculation.
Mm.
Can I?
I got the shot. Yeah.
Sorry, because you're bringing so much into, like, everything's just popping up in my head like crazy. There's been these posts online on social media where you'll see, oh, the Simpsons got it right kind of thing. Their past cartoons, and the Jetsons, how futuristic and how real that is. Do you think there's a connection somehow realistically with that, or you think it's just someone's imagination and it just happened to go that way?
First thing I got to say is, if Jane Jetson was a redhead, she'd be hot. Now, moving on to the real.
Oh my God! Seriously, Joe.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just helping people out here, getting a little imagery going.
Well, that's because she did exercises on her TV. She stayed fit.
No, a lot of stuff. It's like Gene Roddenberry. A lot of people think Gene Roddenberry was iconic.
Yes.
A lot of people think George Lucas was, and then they may be, and it may be where some of this stuff comes from, because a lot of these people do get to go off world. If you're a keeper and you're either a communicator working with them, or somewhere in that field where you've moved out of the abductee contactee status and into a higher status, those people get to go off world. They get to go a lot of places, and a lot of times they get to even use their host bodies off world, or on board the ships, or even in the holo-generated rooms, which pretty much every room on their ship is a holo-generated room. It's a weird, like the Greys. If you go on board a Grey ship, when you walk into your room, it's a cubicle. It's probably 20 by 20. It's decent size, but there's nothing in it. Everything's smooth, floors, walls, everything. But whatever you think about manifest in that room, from food to water to viewing things to information to access to the computers. You can make the whole room a TV screen if you want. It's a much different technology than what we use today, and it's very, very intuitive.
It's really scary.
Well, it's where we're going to be in a couple of thousand. See,
but how does that work with people who have like anger management issues? If they're manifesting wars and they're manifesting murders and stuff like that, where does that put them?
They can manifest individual in the hologram rooms themselves. There's like rec areas and training areas where you can manifest other people, or you can bring people in and have their consciousness downloaded into the body so that you train and do stuff like that. But I imagine most of the aliens probably have some kind of safety set up, because humans are dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
And not necessarily dumb, but curiosity sometimes gets us.
Primitive compared to them.
And I understand that, satisfaction, curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought it back, but the cat's only got 9 lives. You went through that 9,000, it's still dead. It's a very, very subtle thing, the way the aliens interact with our society, and the fact that they're not directly changing anything, but they do have influence in our society, because keepers and stuff like that are out there, for lack of a better word, spreading the word. And letting people know that they are out there, and they are taking people, and they are involved in our society. And you don't know who in those people or somebody. We find out all the time that Hollywood people and musicians are contactees, but politicians will never tell you, and neither will religious people. So there's a whole segment of people we know are being taken, but we can't get access to them. I've only ever had 3 politicians in the whole time I've been doing this come forward. And they were kind of up there, but still, they could have never went public with it. They would have lost everything. One of them had been a senator for 19 years when I talked to him. And the lady I talked to had been a House representative for 17 years. So, I mean, they needed help. They needed to know they weren't crazy, and they couldn't get answers because they weren't high enough in the totem pole to get to the question, the security, where they could find out what was going on. So the next best thing was someone like us. And, the senator we had met originally over at TR301, he had introduced people to me. He had said, hey, look, this is the guy you need to go talk to. And even today, we still have those connections with other, and it spreads. I started out meeting one senator and a bunch of aides. And then those aides introduced me to other people. Then I went to D.C. and met a bunch more aides speaking at 2 of the X conferences. A lot of them showed up. They didn't bring their House of Representatives or their senator with them, but they showed up. So I got to meet them. Well, that just gave us inroads to other politicians. And there are people out there that haven't, but their aides seem to like to leak information to us from time to time. And I tell them all the time, be careful, because you got to be careful what you're leaking, because somebody might come arrest you or do something worse, put you in prison for life or something like that. And then I remember when we originally designed the iCard database, it has a kill switch in it. So if for any reason we thought the database was going to be compromised, because it's not hooked to the internet, you can't access it from the internet. The main primary iCard database can only be accessed with a special card, and you have to call me for me to hook it to a special connection. And then you have to have it's a really big encrypted disk that you got to put in there to authorize you to access the database, and that's just for safety reasons. And but that way, if somebody tried to authorize it, it would just destroy the database. It would just wipe it. And right now there's there's 2 copies, and that's it. And but it's a great thing to have at my fingers. It allows me to do research at a level that I couldn't do any other way. And we constantly have people sending us stuff, letters. I still get snail mail, and I appreciate the snail mail, but I ask people if you can send it, because it's easier when it's digital to put it into the database. When it's snail mail, I got to copy it and upload it to the thing, or type it in, by hand. So either way, that's just a lot of extra work. But it's a great thing to have in the Holocaust. Going back to the Holocaust dreams, these things are, they're very, very vivid. They're very, very detailed. Down to the types of cars. Here's another one for you. In 2 cases, these ladies were talking about Tesla electric cars. 15 years before they existed.
Wow.
15 years before they existed.
That's crazy.
So, and they called them Teslas. That's the best part. You can't even say, oh, they were just fishing, saying, we'll have really advanced electric cars. You can say that, but that's not what they said.
That is odd.
The first one who told me, she said, no, we've been talking about electric cars, and my husband had bought me this really pretty red Tesla. And I'm like, she said, and I can't wait to get it because it's such a pretty car. She told me, she said, I just can't wait when I get this car. She knew it was her car in the future. And guess what? Today she drives a little red Tesla, which still weirds me out. I'm always waiting for the end of the world to come. And then the other, it's just, and then you hear other stuff. People will talk about things like, the girl said, I was looking for a newspaper, and then I realized we don't use newspapers anymore. She said, for some reason, she said, you always had it in my head to look for a newspaper, but we don't use newspapers anymore. So I was looking for any type of digital anything that would let me know, what day it was, what time it was, where I was, things like that. And she said, in the old days, there would have been newspaper stands around. You could have found something, but I haven't seen a newspaper where you could just pull one out of one of those stands anywhere, like 10 years at least. So all of these are things that are happening now. Doesn't necessarily mean this is going to happen right now, but a lot of the stuff they were talking about is happening now. And there's also certain, which I'm not going to give this away, but there were certain types of other technologies dealing with space and air and stuff like that. And I still remember Marsha tells me one night, she goes, oh, it sucked. We ain't going to get to go to the new space hotel, which we're building one in 2025. Should be completed in 2025. So, these are things that when I heard them 10 years or 15 or even 20 years ago, I just said, okay, maybe. But today I have to look back seriously and go, shit, is what I got to do now, because it's a much more serious thing now. Because now a lot of what they were describing is starting to come to pass. There's also some military hardware that they talked about. And they talked about some other countries besides that. But that stuff hasn't come to pass yet. So that lets me know we're still, in the safe zone, to say. But
I'm going to have so many nightmares tonight. It's not funny.
But it's scary. It's stuff because one of the descriptions, there was a party at 10 that was driving through this town, somewhere up north. And they got to the end of the town. She said it was lightly snowing. She said, I still remember these humans running out the woods, running after us, and then you just see these military guys with machine guns just gun them down. And then they turned around and looked at us like, oh shit, we're going to get gunned down. And this is something I heard almost from all of them. She said it was like a Jedi mind trick. You don't see us. And they drove right past them without even being retained. So one of the things we were told is that the contactees at this time frame when all this is going on is their gifts would be activated fully. So that means they're full empaths, full telepaths, full telekinesis.
So basically you're saying everybody's sitting with this, all these contactees or abductees are sitting with all of this knowledge, all of this information, And when the time comes, it's like flicking a switch and everybody's on.
It's flipping a switch, and that's what it is. And they're going to be looking to take specific groups. And then there's groups that are, how can I say this? There's a group of contactees in the circle, and all their job is to make sure that these other abductees and contactees get to these takeoff points without being interfered to by the military or anything else for that matter. They're not allowed to go off-world. They have to stay here on Earth and go to one of the colonies or retire themselves. That's actually how they say it. And the reason why is this group of people have said we'll have to do things to make sure these other ones get off the world that will not be suitable for them to live on another world until they've had time to, I guess, get it out of their system or something. Because you're going to have unlimited lifespan in the new host bodies, and it puts them. I guess they'll be killing people or doing whatever. I know one of the descriptions, the girl said, I just melted his brain. She said, I had enough of them. And she said, they just kept, every time we tried to move, they tried to kill us. She said, so I just got angry and melted. She said, their brains. And she said, I just lost my temper. That's what happened. She said, they dropped just like stones.
So basically,
That's crazy.
It kind of takes away from the whole essence of, reincarnation or being able to, just go off, and not everybody wants to come back, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's the point. We've had this discussion with abductees. So how do you tell them no? So we know, it's like the fascination with hospitals, mortuaries, and morgues. We never understood until recent years that that's one of the places they upload consciousness from. So, I guess the consciousness can be stored for X amount of days, and they can go get it. And they do. They remove and upload it to a host body. So as far as you're concerned, Michelle, you died, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a new body, looking around the ship, going, "Okay, I'm all shiny and new now. What the hell just happened?" So the real question for you is, did you want this, or was this just forced upon you? Somewhere I would think that the humans had to agree because they have host bodies, but that's not a guarantee. Because when you hear them describe some of these abductees and contactees, they sound really terrified and really scared when all this is going on. And I guess you can upload them into new bodies, and when you put them in the new world, they'll settle down with the alien thing. And I guess they've been allowed to interact with the aliens, so it's not a shock when they get there. But I don't know.
So what happens then? Let's just say you don't come back in a host body. Where does the essence go?
Well, they store it on a hard drive, basically. They upload your consciousness.
It's funny because, I've always said, I do want a long, healthy life because I have a lot to do. Mm-hmm. So I guess they're going to just pop me back in.
Well, I would imagine, when you listen to people talk about the grays, some of the grays could be up to 1 billion plus years old. Most of the reptilians and humans, they say, are at least 50 or 80 million years old themselves. They said they live really, really, because lifespans for them are not the same for us. One, their bodies do have really long lifespans, probably 5 million to 1 million years, but it doesn't matter because they can regenerate into a new body. They just upload their consciousness to a new body. And apparently they've got it down right because they say they're not losing the essence of themselves. Everything goes. Okay. Your compassion, your whatever you were in that body, you will be in the new body.
Do you think the government then is trying to try to throw a wrench into things by taking and learning how to work with our essence and putting it into AI?
Well, our government started a project in 2020. Officially, when we heard about it was in 2020. However long it's. So what their job is they wanted to be able to upload your consciousness. So say something like Elon Musk or some brilliant individual, Einstein, whoever. If you could get their consciousness and put it into a new body, well, this brilliance can last for eons and really help move our society if they're that kind of person.
Sure. No help.
But then you've got people like Bill Gates. Do you want his consciousness uploaded and have him around for 1 million years? I'm not thinking I do.
I'm good without that.
I'm not a big fan.
I'm good without him.
I can do without Mr. Gates.
Yeah,
so,
we're fine.
There's going to be moral issues along those lines, but we're already working on those technologies.
They should have kept talking.
It's just slave race with no health care, no expenses, keep it going, and you just never escape the vicious cycle.
Well, because this all started because originally we were going to go clone bodies for body parts. Well, that's just inhumane. Even if you make the brain dead, it's still inhumane to have a spare body laying around. So the idea is to grow host bodies, and host bodies are a combination of DNAs So there's not a cloning effect. They're not cloned. They're real, but you can genetically engineer them to what you want. So the new bodies are supposed to be stronger, faster. Your brain capacity is quadruple what you are as a human. So it opens up all kind of venues for you that you've never had before. One thing that worries me about that is you have to know the consciousness in that person is good to give them super intelligence, because that could make them evil in itself if they knew they had that kind of power. So maybe that's why they're making the ones who are murdering, killing, and pillaging stay on Earth and taking the cleaner, purer ones off world. Because a lot of people seem to think the humans could have an agrarian society like the reptilians originally did, as long as there's no wars. And we could. If there's no wars and everybody was treated equally, we could have an agrarian society. But not on this planet, not right now. I mean, that's not something that's going to happen anytime soon. Now, but off world in the right circumstances, yeah, it could be an easy thing. On a world where there's no starvation, no sickness, no death, no disease, everybody's children are perfect, everybody's bodies are perfect, your brain is great, there's no wars, everybody loves each other, cares about each other, helps each other. Yeah, of course you can.
You're still a slave. So what's the option?
I mean, you're a slave. You have free will. You can go and come as you want. The only thing I'm not sure about is you can self-terminate, but I don't know why you'd want to, but no, you have free will. You can leave the planet and go live somewhere else and do things like that. They're not. They initially take you to this place. It's like I guess like rehab, for a better way of saying it, to let you mature into your body, understand who and what you are, and start to see where you want to serve, or if you want to serve, because you don't even have to. They just they expect a lot of humans when this goes on feels grateful and want to do it because a lot of them have their family and friends come with them, or their family is not really friends, but a lot of times their family comes with them. So, like, a mom may have cut a deal so that 5 or 6 of her kids come along with it. So, all of a sudden she finds herself in a new world, and new bodies with all of her kids hanging out, and it's a different support role. It's a different way of doing it. But not everybody qualifies, and not everybody's going to get to go off world. If they're lucky and the current methods are true, it'll be 1.5 billion people will be alive that survive, and everybody else will be wiped out. And out of that 1.5 billion, about 300 million or 400 million will be left on Earth, and the rest will be taken off.
So what's a better option?
ET
or government AI?
Our governments will be wiped out when all this happens. It won't be. They're going to take them out. They're going to try to survive, and they're going to try to get there. That's one of the things they say they're working on now is reverse engineering DNA that can save them from the virus. And apparently they do, because there's quite a lot of military around, but not to the extent of what our military really is. It's way short of that. I know a couple of people who said they had seen our news broadcast had suggested that the world's population was sitting right around 1 billion, 300 million, somewhere around there, give or take. They said the amount of bodies were dying all over, and people were dying all over and causing mass diseases, but the people who were left at 1.5 billion seemed to be immune to everything. They didn't seem to have any problem. They seemed to have very, very advanced. Even before they get in their host bodies, their abilities were quadrupled in just their normal everyday human bodies because they were activated. Because a lot of people think that the aliens keep us, because not everybody on the planet has psychic abilities. It's really, in today's world, it's a very small segment. And like a friend of mine says, they're probably all inside the paranormal world, or at least the majority of them are. He said, when you look at that compared to the planet, he said it's a very small group. He said, 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. He says no more than that. And he said, now to that, how many of them really have advanced abilities? He said a lot of them are empaths, but they're not advanced empaths. They're just empaths that they sense and feel sin.
That's true. There are a lot of empaths. Sorry to.
Because that's the first stage of development.
Yeah.
That's the first stage of development. It's the easiest stage, by the way, too. It's not the easiest to control, by the way. Telepathy is actually easier, but empaths is just the first stage because we're emotional creatures. It's who we are. And those emotions can be drawn on for a lot of different reasons. Instead of Glenda, I got a blue mustache. Yeah, because the damn thing goes across a mustache. That's why. Look at that. Keep it up. I'll change the outlook. You know what I know out there. It's bugging me now. Okay. Well, look at it. Oh, wait, that still didn't work. And even in full mode, it don't look right. Y'all look great. I look like I'm trying to kiss my own name.
You look like
yeah, this is making me crazy.
Time? Remember the show Tool Time with Tim Allen? You look like Wilson. Mr. Wilson was always behind the fence, like here.
Yeah, I look right there.
I think we just have to get you a booster seat.
I know.
That's it.
Actually, I just need to bring my studio chair over here. You know what? This will give me an excuse to buy. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all listening tonight, I could use a new studio chair for sitting right here so you can see my face. I got one over there, but I don't want to have to move that one around because there's wires and shit.
Just get a stack of books. It's a phone book.
No, y'all can't see the cameras too far away. Behind me, to the right of me, is all the classics, all the works from all the Greeks.
So there you go.
It's great reading.
There you go.
Oh my God, Joe, you're the best. Seriously, you.
We gotta get these aliens in control, man. Get them to give us chocolate chip cookies and stuff like that. Hey, last time they said, "I'm gonna come take you," I said, "If you don't have fudge brownies, don't bother."
But they might think they're giving you all of these exceptional abilities and knowledge, and that should be better than cookies or brownies.
Yeah, but I already had them damn abilities. They didn't give
have both.
It's debatable.
Brownies, man. Look, I use my abilities.
I'll send you a recipe for Nutella brownies, Joe.
And we're
in the size of Montana, you know.
But this is a good segue to help people understand something. So when I was young, I used to have these horrible nightmares, probably because I was being abducted and didn't know it.
Like night terrors? Would you say night terrors?
These things forward. I mean, they were just horrible, and I couldn't sleep anymore. And my parents were thinking about getting counseling, this, that, and other thing. So I realized one night when I was sleeping, I have the ability. So if I see something, like I used to watch Star Trek when it was reruns. So at night, I would just replay an episode in my head and just let it just slip through. And so it would mute out anything that got in the way. Well, then I realized about a year later, I had the ability to interact with the dream on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, this is really cool. So all my life, I was like, I just assumed everybody dreamt in color and everybody could do that. And that's just how it was. Well, around 15, I realized I had the ability to see other people's dreams, to really dream.
Oh, wow.
And I found it out by accident. I was dating this girl, and it was the first time we slept together. And not like that. We just slept, fell asleep. God, you gotta watch Amelia.
Can you blame me? Seriously, for that?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for the other way. We're not going to go.
Oh, red he is.
I know, and I'm blushing. But anyway, that's the COVID thing, guys. And you made me forget what the hell I was saying. Oh, anyway, so we woke up that morning, we were talking. And I said, I seen this really weird looking dragon. She said it was red and blue, and it had these things that came outside that were like a flowing royal purple robe. And I was like, oh my God. And we got to talking. Well, we had shared the entire dream. So I didn't know which one of it was. So I was talking with a few friends, and it was a really weird experience. So a couple of nights later, I dreamt my dad was going to die. And it was a very, very vivid dream. It was 2 years before it happened. And the whole thing unfolded just like it did in my head, which just kind of really made me angry at the time, because it felt like I should have been able to do something about it because I had seen it a full 2 years ahead of time. Maybe I was in denial. Maybe I just didn't want to think that's what was going on. But regardless, I had realized that I could really see things ahead, and I could really get into people's heads on a major way. So I started using it for peekaboo. I'd ask for permission. So I'd get hold of a friend or an ex-girlfriend or something like that and say, hey, look, when you go to bed tonight, I want you to keep a log of your dreams. I said, I want to see if I can get in your head. So I said, in the morning when I get up, I'll send you a text or something, or I'll call you or something like that. And I realized right off the bat, if they were even a little bit empathic or telepathic, I was in their head. Like, not only that, I could close doors. I could even stop them and block them. I could change the outline of their dream, which was insane. And then when I got married, Linda and I used to talk, every night, every morning, and every night. And we realized we were sharing a lot of things. Even now, she's bad about getting into my head. I'll go to say something, she'll just say it, or she'll be getting ready to tell me something, and I'll say it. Sometimes it's actually irritating. It's just one of the things. And a friend of mine said, well, you can cheat. I said, cheat my ass. She would know before I did. I said, I'd be thinking about it. She'd be calling me on the phone. Like, what? I said, I'm serious. And she'd be calling me for, what are you thinking about? It's a weird sensation. And I taught dream reading for a long, long time. And then I decided that I better stop, because not everybody is morally just. And some people may abuse the gift. Because really, if you really wanted to, like if I wanted to just make you crazy, I could just get in your head and make you have night terrors all night long. And just present myself as whatever I thought would scare the living shit out of me. And what's great about it or not great about it is you learn by mistakes. So I'm in your head 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nights, and then I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn what really, really terrifies you. So, but it's the same way around. You can do it in anything. If you want to make somebody happy, you can make them exhilarated. You can really run the whole gamut of emotions. And of course, if you're empathic and you do that, and it's somebody you're very close with, and you're making love to them, it intensifies everything about tenfold. It's nothing like, before anybody gets any idea, yeah, sex is great, but it's not like this. It's a whole different sharing experience. And yes, sex is involved, but it's a sharing on a different level. It's like your two souls are swimming.
Because you're melding energy.
Yes, it's just I don't know how to explain it to you guys. Unless if you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're an empath or telepath, you probably have. But especially if you date or live with one, which is another big pain in the ass. Because you're always in each other's heads.
We have to intervene. We have to intervene because.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I'm all over the place because we're starting a little late tonight. But if you're tuning in right now, you're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano, as well as the great, the one and only Joe Montaldo is here tonight with us. And if you're in New Orleans, you're probably listening to us on 107.7 or 105.3 FM, United Public Radio here. And we are partially sponsored by Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers.
Okay. Fell back.
It's only fitting that we got this background behind here with the aliens walking through the woods and UFOs behind
you. UFOs. It's just trees.
No, actually, there's 2 big UFOs inside the tree.
Oh, is there? Oh, okay.
You just can't see them because of the way that it's.
No, because we're covering it.
It's a cool picture. But
yeah.
So should people be, should they be fearful? Do you think at this stage? I almost think that people are looking right now for answers. A lot of people have lost faith in the world and their government and their religion, and it's almost like they're looking at this as a new age religion. Aliens.
It is because when you listen to when we talk, and a friend of mine said it sounds a lot like Revelation. He said, "Then they come take you up at the end," and in a way, it does. You're going to live forever and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. It does in a lot of ways sound like Revelation. And a lot of my friends seem to think maybe that's where it came from originally, where some of the Bible verses came from, was from these visitations. And some of the things they learned. I don't know. I'm not anti-God, so I don't need to feel like we have to wipe it out off the planet like some people do. But I'm not so much, like I tell my friends, and I still remember this, a friend of mine preacher smacked me in the mouth for this. I said, dude, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I said, gives a difference. I said, religion is created for man for the control of man. Spirituality is to help save our soul. I said, you just choose whatever you want. He's like, no, I'm telling you, Joe, religion. We need religion. We have to work to straighten out. If you're going to get into heaven, I said, if heaven is what I've been told is, I don't want to go. I said, if I got to sit, kneel, stand, pray all day long for the eternity, I'm not going to find that appealing. I said, I'm just being honest. And he's like, well, wait. I said, I'll just stay in purgatory, which is earth, so I'll be happy. He said, "Well, can you?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "But I haven't been bad enough to go to hell. Apparently, I've been good enough to go to heaven."
But is that a thing? If your essence is getting put into a database,
that's the other thing. And you might even, I got it. And I ask this question all the time. Were you informed? Did you strike a bargain that would allow them to do this? Because they don't do it to all contactees, and a lot of them tell me that. Actually, most of the women tell me the same thing, that they said they were more than willing to go along with this project as long as the kids got to come or the kids were protected. She said, I don't want to live, one of them will tell you, I don't want to live without my kids for life. Most of them did not mention their own men, by the way. Like, oh, so your man is he's not as important. But I'm like, oh, shit. Because they might not be contactees anyway. Not all partners are contactees. It's more so now than it used to be, but because now it seems like people are forming relationships on the ships and finding each other. Thanks to the internet, they're finding each other. Because most people don't realize this, but when you connect yourself to the internet, like think of it right now, I got the earbud in my hand, the keyboard sitting on my lap, my hands resting on the mouse, and the mic's right in front of my mouth. I'm completely connected to this. So anybody psychic or any type of real energy can pick up all sorts of stuff. You can transmit, you can receive. We used to run experiments in the old days on how much more intense your abilities are online. As some other people don't realize. A good telepath can intensify the abilities 10, 50, even 100-fold on the internet. It's like it doubles for every 10 miles it travels. It's because there's so much energy going through the internet, and so many people's personalities, wishes, hopes, fears are all crammed in.
I don't think that's not being monitored. Don't think that's not being monitored somewhere.
They can monitor that all I want. I'm gonna give them the, but I'm gonna give them the psyche. That's what I'm gonna give them the psyche point.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I just gave it for people who likes a figure. Calm down, people. I can be the official word if that's what y'all looking for.
We're a family show.
We just got back on YouTube yesterday, so I don't be getting them in trouble. As it is, they keep seeing an alien on the screen. They might come, kick us off anyway. When they talk about all these different worlds and all these different places that they get to go, and then the different types of aliens that are on board the ship that don't get to come here so much, but that are on the ships that we get to interact with, because there are aliens they deal with that are mentally, physically, and technologically along the same existence as we are, like the black-eyed people. I don't call black-eyed children, even though there's a lot of black-eyed children on board the ship. Because when I say this, I always get 500 million emails. Charles, I'm like, look, I'm not saying all black-eyed people are aliens. I'm just saying there is a group on board the ship that technologically and mentally are along the same evolution as man is. They look a little bit like us. They've got basically the same body as us, but their skin color is a little different. Their eye color is definitely different. Their face is a little more drawn in than ours. It looks like maybe their environment might be a little lighter gravity-based than ours is, because they look like they're struggling sometimes when they're on ships. Because when you're in it on board any of the big ships, the room will automatically adjust to the gravity level that you're from, so you don't have to be strained. And then there's a thing they give you, so when you move around the ship, that your body can adjust to the gravity level. So because grays have a whole different gravity level than we do, and they can exist on our planet quite comfortably. They're way stronger here, which suggests they come from a much heavier world than ours. But still, it's an interesting thing for the contactees and the abductees to be able to use. There's lots of gadgets and stuff they have access to. They have access to a lot of the computers on board the craft, a lot of the stuff they can they learn how to psychically link with the systems, because most of the computers on board the ships there's no keyboards or mouses or anything like that. You just got to log in with your brain, and it's a direct interface with your head. There's not even any technology involved. It's like beamed into your head. But what's interesting about this is contactees over time. When you get into my age group of contactees and abductees, they've stored a lot of stuff. They've probably got terabytes of information they can only access when they're near that ship. Or so if they're on a ship or any colony they go live on, that'll all be stored there. Well, once they get their oversized brains, they'll just go back to staying in their head. But meanwhile, when they go up on board the ship, they can access all of it, from lessons they've learned to how the ships work. Because the government couldn't figure out why all these military abductees who have had experience running ships or dealing with gravity or dealing with engines didn't retain the technology stuff in their head. Well, that's why they're not allowed to. That's on the other hard drive. So they got bits and snippets, and the government knows it's real because there's certain things they can say that will make the government go, "Oh, well, this is a viable technology," but they just don't have it. Like the first time, there was a group of us got together, and we drew the first. I guess you could have called back in the day. Would have called it atomic engine. Today would be a nuclear engine, cold fission. We designed an engine that would run on nuclear power that would easily go faster than speed light. The only thing nobody could figure out is how to make an inertial damper so you wouldn't get squished like a bug every time the damn thing took off. That's the problem with this kind of technology is, you can probably go faster than light, but without you need two things to really besides light speed. I think light speed will be the first thing we figure out because it's going to be the easiest. But first off, you're going to have a radar system or some type of sensor that can go out 10,000 light years ahead of you, so you're not running to asteroid belts, suns, and planets, and God knows what else is out there. So you got to have that, and then you've got to have inertial dampers that can cancel out the effect of, how fast your ship's going. And with inertial dampers, Einstein's theory is mute; it doesn't matter anymore. See, with Einstein's theory, the faster you get the closer you get to the speed of light, the more energy you use, the more time it takes, and then of course everything slows down everywhere else. It's the Doppler effect, but still. If you got inertial dampers, that cancels all that out. You can just cruise on through light speed like it's nothing. 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's everything. I always tell you light speed. Light speed is great, but it's not fast enough. One time the speed of light would still take 3.8 years to get to Proxima. It would still take 150 years to get anywhere decent. and you get to the galactic core, it would take 160,000 or 80,000 years to get there at the light speed. So that's not going to do it for us. We need to be able to go 10, 15, 100 times faster than speed of light. Then we can start moseying across the galaxy and really starting to see things. But the way it's going to really happen is we're going to do it like I explained to Michio Keiko, and everybody could not believe me. I schooled Michio on this. I said, the way we're going to do it is we're going to establish a moon base, which we're in the middle of doing right now. We're going to put a launching platform out in zone L11, which is about halfway between Earth and Mars, and it gives you a clear shot out of the solar system. And we just recently found out that there's a wave that runs through the middle of the solar system, like this would be, that actually helps you to pick up speed. It pushes your craft. So we figured that out. And then the next place where we build, we'd put a colony on Mars. We'd put 4 or 5 mining colonies out of the asteroid belt. We'd put a place on Europa, Io. And now we're halfway out the solar system at Jupiter and Saturn. Next place we do is Charon and Pluto. We put a place there. We put some places in the Oort cloud mining facilities. And then we put another facility right at the end of our solar system so that we have a stopping point. And then the next thing we would do, we'd go 1 light year out. It would take 2 years to get there at half a light speed. And we would build a station, which would leave us less than a half a light year from Proxima Centauri. So you could just go from Earth. In reality, it would still take you probably 80 years to get there, but it wouldn't be a space trip. You'd be staying somewhere for a while, you'd go in the colonies for a while, you'd get moved along, you'd get cycled, you'd get moved along, you'd get cycled, you'd get moved along. After 7 or 8 years of working for whoever you work for, you'd find yourself in the Proxima Centauri colony. And then there we would just keep doing the same thing. We would keep building stepping stones until we got out. You could technically, even though they upsized our galaxy to 160,000 light years across, technically at half light speed, you can explore the entire galaxy in 320,000 years. That's a long time. Well, not in the grand scheme of man. It's not. We're already, 2 million years old. We're planning on living at least another billion years, which means we can explore our own galaxy at half a light speed over 1,000 times and never have to achieve light speed. Not even one time. We can explore the whole damn thing. Can't get out of the galaxy, but we can explore the whole damn thing. So, and the reason we use that is because a lot of hardcore scientists say, well, aliens couldn't get here because of the distances. But when you use the stepping stone theory, they most certainly can get here. As far as we know, that might be why you see them big ships parked out by the sun. That might be where they get their energy from. And they may have one parked in every solar system in the damn galaxy, as far as we know. So they're just moving from galaxy from solar system to solar system to solar system. But we know the Greys have faster light technology, and most of them use some type of portal or gate system. And you can tell that because almost all sightings are the same thing. It was there, it was gone. It didn't streak across the sky, it didn't grow wings. It just was there and it was gone. Like a doorway opened and a doorway closed. So yeah. And it's weird too, because I know on at one of the groups had an online meeting, well, I should say an on-board meeting, on board the ship meeting. And we're discussing the Holocaust dreams. And the Greys said, well, when it's your time, it'll be your time, don't worry about it. Because somebody asked me, I said, could the Greys upload you and hold you there until the moment this happened and then download you in a replica of yourself and put you back there? And I'm like, why the hell would they want to do that? So the whole idea is to go get you and bring you somewhere else. Why bring you back? I said, but I can't rule it out. I mean, I would think not.
But that's a good question. Can they?
Well, they can, I'm sure, if they wanted to. That's within their technology. They can actually put you basically on a disc, and you wouldn't even know. You'd just be dark. You'd be just a non-existent consciousness until it was rebooted or spun up.
Well, is that why there's a theory that we're in a matrix? Is it because we're all uploaded into this whole?
Well, in their case, you would be in a way, because they would upload you into their computer. But if you're in the computer, even if you're uploaded, your consciousness is uploaded to the computer, you have access to the hologram. So you can still have a life, just not, I guess. And in a way, it would still be, you would still think it was a physical life, even though you knew it would be a hologram. It still feels physical to you. So it's kind of weird that would happen like that.
Can I ask a question from the chat room? Just before we go far off and won't be able to come back. CC Champagne asks, how does quantum physics affect the spirit world or aliens?
Well, it depends on what you think quantum physics is, I guess. I had the father of modern quantum kinetics on, Dr. I can't think of his name, Paul Levette. And he's the one that came up with the cosmic pulse theory, but he's a quantum mechanics expert and he's really good. We got into many, many discussions about this. So anything that pertains to energy waves, or altitudes that can push force out is going to affect everything. I would imagine with the grays representing humans, they're probably moved on past quantum physics. Quantum physics is a human concept, and it's for them it would be limited in the amount of power it can produce. For humans, it would be great because the amount of power we can produce from it, like helium-3, would be phenomenal and clean for our planet. But for an alien race who's wanting to travel far faster than the speed of light at long distances, you're going to need something much more powerful. You're going to need a type of energy probably that we have not yet invented. I mean, we talk about cold fusion, which you could use quantum physics. We also talk about other types of energies, plasma streams, different things. We've talked about shooting a pulse, putting a ship in space and shooting a pulse from Earth and sending it faster than the speed of light, and then having a catching station on the other end, or just simply letting it slow down to wherever it's going to go and then build a station to launch it back. But there's lots of stuff, and quantum is going to play into some of this stuff, like quantum computers. When you get into quantum computers, they work at such a faster pace than anything we have currently, and they don't run hot, they run cool. And now they're developing a quantum computer it's a carbon-based quantum computer, so it won't even get hot. You can blow the chip. It'll be virtually impervious to heat, and it can run at speeds. Well, last I heard, 100 gigs, 100 megs, 100,000 megs. I'm sorry. So, like the computer I'm talking to y'all on right now is a 4 gig computer running 20 gigs of RAM. It's really, really fast. But the new quantum computers will be a 100 gig computer running probably 1,000 gigs of RAM. And it'll all be integrated and all be grown. It might even be grown into one board in one piece, which will make it cheap, fast, efficient, and cool. Because that's one of the biggest problems for computers. Like if you come in a computer room, even though we've upgraded to 8 cores and 6 cores, even if you come in this computer room, it's hot some days, especially in the summertime. Even if the computer, all the AC is both smaller and the bigger one, it still gets hot here. And they give up a lot of heat, but the new ones won't do that. They'll have different kind of power supplies. And then, with quantum, maybe it can help us to thin out hydrogen a little bit, or some of the other fuels we're looking at. Because they're developing right now, a hydrogen. It's about the size of a basketball, a little bit bigger than a basketball. So this thing will be able to power your house and power your car. So it'll completely power everything in your house, but it will charge fuel cells to run your car and other things like your boat and stuff like that. And it'll give you up to like 48 hours of fuel in one cell. So you could drive 48 hours nonstop and not have to refuel. You just better have a place to get some more fuel cells when you get wherever you're going. But they'll put hydrogen things on. So we're moving forward. But things like somebody said, why won't aliens help us with solar? I said because the aliens think solar is stupid, just like they think wind's stupid. We just don't have the technology to make it efficient right now. Everyone wants to switch. Yeah, we'll switch to what? It doesn't work. I mean, Jesus, Texas is pretty much a solar and windmill grid. They couldn't even get through the winter. I'm thinking it's not really an effective technology. And most people don't realize this, but the average solar cell has a carbon footprint of about 18 wheelers. You have to go strip mine all that lithium. I mean, strip mine is harsh on the planet. And then it's got to be shipped to China and refined. And it's going to be shipped to Japan and sealed. And it's going to be shipped to the United States and put together. And it's going to be shipped out to the contractor and installed. All of that is adding up fuel and everything. They're just not. Even Tesla's electric car, which is a great thing, is still not. Its carbon footprint is still about 4 times the size of the regular automobile. So for some reason, our government just don't want to talk about it because they got to get people involved. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's just not a technology, and I would think after 40 years of having solar, we would have better technology. But most scientists will tell you the same thing. If you want solar to work, you got to put it in space. It's just not, our atmosphere knocks out too much of the charged particles. If you put it in space, it'll be about 100 times more efficient than it is here on Earth. If you could build big old 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile across, link them together, let them move around the planet, beam energy down. It might not supply all of energy, but it would take off a burden off of it. Right now, they always talk about coal and fuel, but today, gasoline engines are burning way the hell cleaner. Back in the day, I agree, back in the day, they were polluting everything, but today's emission standards are strict. I'm not sure. It's going to take hybrids a long time to beat out because of those new emission standards. It's going to be a while, and unless gas prices keep going up, that might change. But currently, to get a good electric car, you're looking at $46,000 to $56,000.
That's American.
Yeah, that's American. You can go buy a really nice car for that. A really nice, say you can get your damn Beamer, an Audi, a Mercedes-Benz. I mean, you can get a nice car for that, and a really comfortable car versus an electric car. And I like Tesla's cars. I think they're great cars, and I think it's going to be the future one day, but not now. I don't know why hydrogen hasn't taken off there. It's a more applicable thing for our planet. Come on, it gives you what's its byproduct? Clean, fresh water. That's what it gives off as its byproduct. Its tailpipe will drip clean, fresh water.
Yeah, but it doesn't make.
No, it's not dirty. There's no grease or oil in it or anything. The engine's electric.
And oil makes the world go round.
It does. See, that's the other problem. How do you get rid of coal, any of this stuff right now when 3 billion people work in this industry?
Fossil fuel.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It can't be that many. I said, no, because I said, let me explain to you. I said, y'all don't understand what petroleum is. Yes, petroleum's gasoline and it's oil and stuff like that, but it's lipstick, it's makeup. It's all kind of jellies we use and all sorts of things. We eat petroleum. It's in all kind of food products. Petroleum is in just about everything in our life. It's in plastics. It's in pretty much every aspect of our lives. You can't just get rid of it. And for some reason, our press won't be honest about it. But, and petroleum saves the whales. Let's be honest about it. We get whale oil today, making candlelight again, so it helped to save them.
Yeah.
It made it easier to catch up and kill them, but it also helped to save them because we don't have to kill them for fuel anymore.
Can I ask something off topic? Because that's been the theme of the night. It's still on topic of aliens, but Elon Musk pursuing Mars and moving forward, but yet the government's going to fall behind because they don't have that kind of money to advance and do this as fast as he does. Why do you know, or why do you believe the government's not stepping in to stop him?
Well, first off, I said this 30 years ago, and I've been preaching it ever since. If you want to be in space, you got to privatize. Because companies, see, NASA's thing was faster, better, cheaper. Well, Elon's not doing faster, better, cheaper. He don't want to spend a bunch of extra money testing shit, blowing it up all over the place. He figures he's going to have enough of that anyway. He wants a craft that's going to be reusable, that's going to go back and forth to Mars without any effort. You don't want some shit that like NASA's got that's going to be redone and completely built every time you launch it. NASA, for some reason, never really took on space the way it should have. And then they just figured, well, we can't get man up there. We'll just go ahead and start sending probes and robots and probes and robots and probes. Well, that's fine, but humans aren't going to get behind that. Humans need space exploration. You want to spend money in space, put humans in space. And then they'll be like, oh, shit, especially when we start finding weird shit and seeing stuff and they see people walking around on Mars, they'll get behind them. But nobody wants to get behind the rover. The rover's great, and I love watching it. But most humans are going to be, it's a rover. Unless rover sees the great running across the field, nobody's going to really care. It's not like the old days of the Apollo when people were really like, oh, yeah. But that was also manned spaceflight. And even then, we got bored with it just after 3 or 4 flights. It went from being a top-rated thing to one of the lowest-rated things. And just like 5 or 6 missions. Oh, well, nothing's going on. But now Apollo 13 went up in ranks because there was a disaster. So everybody was watching. Why are you going to make it back? Humans can't help their stupid selves sometimes. But all in all, we're not ready for space in the general sense of deep space. Yeah, we got our own solar system. We need to get out there and explore it. Live in the solar system 500,000 years. Really get out there. Really get ourselves all of it. Spread out all of it. That way, if something happens, somebody's always close to it. And then after that, we can start looking at deep space. Even if we have fast and life technology, we're just not ready. I mean, really, do you want Ping out there representing you to the aliens? Do you want Putin out there representing you to the aliens? Shit, for that matter, do you want Biden or Trump out there representing you to the No. Big fatigal no. Matter of fact, there's not a world leader on this planet I want represent me to the aliens because I'm going to get killed.
But how do we know there's not one already chosen to do just that, who's up and coming, or part of this whole new world order that they're talking about?
I would more likely think when the aliens decide to do whatever they're going to do, they're just going to, after everybody's wiped out, now they're going to probably say, okay, you probably do a big boom and box and say, all right, this is how this is going to go down. Anybody who resists this will get killed. So either get along with the program or start filing your, go buy you some flowers or something. You're not going to be around long. But that's not even accurate enough either, because there got to be some rules here involved, because why do you need keepers to go round up rogue and missing contactees? Why can't the aliens do that? They know where they are. They got them chipped. Well, they don't got them chipped, but they got them zoned into their DNA from their head, so they know where you are. So why do you need retrieval squads? spots. What is that about? What is it that why are these contactees roaming around? So there's assigned pickup spots where the aliens will be waiting for them. But they don't have to do that. We all know they have the technology to get you from anywhere. So why all of a sudden we're going to put ourselves in assigned spots and wait for them to be brought there? Is there some lesson in here we don't know about? Is there something else going on? It just doesn't, that part of it just doesn't make sense to me. But all of them say the same thing. They're out there looking for missing and rogue abductees and picking them up, whether on military bases or wherever they are, they're picking them up and bringing them to where they need to be. And they said that those abductees' abilities are very weak compared to theirs that are very strong. So it's almost like ET turned up the dial on some of them and not the other ones. Or maybe they couldn't, I don't know. Maybe their human brains couldn't handle it and the other ones could. Or maybe they picked up the first batch and put them in host bodies and then dropped them off and then had them go around the other contact.
Maybe they didn't cook long enough.
So it's hard to say exactly who's on first here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because so many people have different variations of how this is all going to happen. Some of them are people who've been contacted. I think the abductees have it a little bit different than the contactees.
They just know something's weird going on in their life. Like you see a flash out the corner of their eye. They'll have this weird sense of something happened or something's missing. And the bad part about this is a lot of what they describe could be easily misconstrued as paranormal. Ghosty, it could be a lot poltergeist. So that's the problem.
We did a show on that because
it's easy to cross the two over in that area. It's easy.
It's true. It's true. There's a lot of similarities between sleep paralysis or poltergeist activity and alien visitation and abduction.
That's why I don't argue with paranormal researchers. They're like, why do you just think it's all aliens? Why do you just think it's all ghosts? It's, we don't know until we investigate. That's the whole point of investigations.
That's
and I said, and if it's a ghost, I'll be the first one to say, God, it's not an alien. So what the hell is it? It's like we were working in a house today and the door started shutting. And my partner's like, what the hell? I said, I don't know. I said, maybe they opened the downstairs door and it's pulling a draft. And he said, you sure? I said, you don't want to just hung all these doors. You just put brand new doors in all this man's house. I said, so if they're slamming, you better go figure out why. I said, did you piss off a ghost upstairs?
You're in New Orleans. I opt for paranormal.
I would too. I'm with Michelle on that one. Sorry.
When you get uptown, in certain places in New Orleans, it's going to definitely be paranormal. You get uptown, Verity, St. Charles, City Park, Harvard Park areas. It's haunted. You can drive down. You'll be driving down Magazine in the middle of the night, one of the most popular areas in the city, and you go through the park and you go in the Magazine while shopping, and there'll be two ghosts walking down the street. Like they, a lot of times they'll be dressed in clothes, era clothes, sometimes 100-year-old, 200 years. Because you'll see them like downtown. Sometimes you'll see women walk around in big Southern belle dresses. And you're just like, okay, did you have some horrible? They don't even look like they're unhappy or anything. They're just like strolling, Sunday stroll. And it's probably some kind of loop or something, some impression.
Yeah, residual and imprint.
And then they had that meteorite that landed in the park that somebody thought it was alien. Somebody said it landed on top of some girl and squished her and she haunts the park. I've seen some hairy, scary shit out there, but I couldn't tell you what it was. I know I got thrown from a horse out there when I was 19. I went horseback riding with some friends of mine over there because they'll let you lease out horses in the park. It's a beautiful ride. It was like something blackish gray. You could see it moving along the ground. It almost looked like, you see a cloud go over and there's a shadow, and it really looked like that, but there was nothing in the sky. And then the horses just freaked. A friend of mine, Ricky, got knocked off because he hit a tree limb. And mine just threw me. He just wasn't having nothing to do. He wanted out of there. All got thrown out. I went right back to the barn. So when I got back, I said, what are these horses born? They said, no. He said, what did y'all run into a snake or something? I said, not that I seen. I said, I don't know what it was. So whatever it was, the horses did not like it. They didn't have nothing to do with it. They weren't going any further. They was turning, going out, and they didn't care if it meant leaving us behind or not. They were like, you're on your own, humans. It happens. And animals are sensitive to aliens, are sensitive to ghosts and demons.
They are.
See, this house is not much in the way of activity. The other houses, Charlie would pace. He'd wake up like 2 o'clock in the morning and start pacing. What the hell, dog? He'd be pace back. He's seen something. He's watching. And you'd see me go in the living room. He'd be sitting there just growling at the darkness. I'm like, stop it. And you look up at me, it's go right back to the ground. I'm like, stop it. He's like, then you get deeper. I'm like, what the hell? And then I'd flip on a light, and for a minute, you'd see like a flicker. And then it was gone, and then he'd shut up. And he'd go back in the room. But he was sensitive to shit like that. And I know, like, when aliens would show up, he would get pissed, and then he'd go to sleep. He'd like, wake up at that sounds like, my little one, the black one, never cared. The aliens could have picked him up, took him with him, but he cared. He's like, you're not bothering me. He said, I'm used to these demon things walking around the house and stuff. But they are sensitive to it. Cats are, dogs are, all animals are for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever sent me an email a while ago, they don't abduct animals per se. If you've been taken, like if they took you in your car or somewhere that your animal was with you other than home, they might take the animal on board the ship and knock it out. Mm-hmm. But as far as just taking the animal for any, no, as far as I know, they don't do that. They don't take cows. It's bullshit. Don't even get me started on a cattle mutilation. They do not, the aliens do not abduct. I'm going to say this for the record. I don't care what Linda Moldy House says. They do not abduct cows. And it's easy for me to prove. I embarrassed her in front of a lecture one day because she says, oh, they take the heart sac out. There's no way humans can do that. I'm like, whatever.
You're talking about cattle mutilations?
I said, so yeah, I asked her one day at a lecture. I said, let me ask you something. I said, I know you didn't even investigate this. I said, how many of these ranchers' cows are insured? She's like, what do you mean? I said, they have insurance on. What does that got to do anything? I said, I'm just curious. I'm not saying the ranchers are doing this. I said, I'm just curious to how many come to find out. I couldn't find any that weren't insured anywhere. So what it sounds like, and some of the descriptions, they said like sled marks, sounds like a helicopter, doesn't sound like a UFO. But more importantly, the cows in the areas were taken were in areas where there was nuclear testing done back in the 40s and 50s. Lots of them. New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, Utah, Colorado. These are all places we did nuclear testing. These cows happen to be in these areas. The body parts of the cows that were missing is where radiation would show up intensely first. That's the first place it would show up. It would be an intense area. So if you examine that and there was exposure, you would find it. Mm-hmm. So this was an easy way for the government to check on the food supply without alarming the population. And if anybody said anything, oh, well, the aliens took it. And because the aliens ain't going to give you shit if your cows are insured. Only the government's going to care if your cows are insured. Because the ranchers would have made a big thing about this. The ranchers never really made that big a deal about this because they didn't lose the cow. They got their money back. You know, they would report it because they got to report it. The cow's missing or been killed because they can't get insurance without it. And you ever notice the body was always left there or brought back? Mm-hmm. Oh, they just drop it on the ocean or some shit. But no, they left it there. They didn't take it. If they were eating it, they would take the whole cow. Mm-hmm. They just did. So the cows were found on the ground with all the blood drawn, which we have technology that can do that quite easily. It's called a vacuum pump. Can drain a cow down in about 2 minutes. We have laser technology. We can move anything with laser scalpels. None of this is technology we don't have. And the cows, it makes perfect sense that the cows are insured. You put the cow back, the insurance, as long as the guy's got the cow, he's going to get his $4,500 back. And he's not going to lose. So he's not going to go make a big stink out of it.
But his insurance will just keep going up.
You know, and as long as he's got that body, the insurance can't refuse to pay. So, I mean, like I said, the aliens were just taking it. If the aliens came by and zapped it off the ground and would kill it, there'd be no reason to put it back. They would just send it off that cleanup crew. So there'd be no reason to bring it back. The only reason I could see to bring those cows back was so the guy could make his insurance claim. I couldn't see any other reason for it. And everyone I talked to made the insurance claim.
What about the ones on Skinwalker Ranch?
I've been on Skinwalker Ranch twice. It's not what y'all think it is, but I'm under it. Actually, it's not. It's. I don't know how I got the reputation it did. So somebody went and lied their asses off is what they did. But I've been there twice. And I was invited there twice. And it's not what people think it is. Unfortunately, I'm under the, whatever you call it, disclosure. It's not what everybody thinks it is. And they get mad at me because they were like, well, you're going to, I said, no, I'm not non-disclosure. I can't tell anybody anything. I said, but I was disappointed. I'll tell you that much.
I think it's something you have to really be there for a while.
It was.
You can't necessarily just do it one time. Everything there seems to be ongoing.
Any location, yeah.
No, I was brought there for 2 weeks because I was an expert in what they thought was going on ranch. And part of it was that, but it was never what they thought it was. See, that whole area out there, all the way across, all the way to Area 51, Area 53, and Area 54, that's part of the tall whites are out there. And then the Grays use a segment of that as well. So
they're pretty gentle, though, right? Like that, they wouldn't be.
No, not the tall whites. They're vicious. The tall whites, they're extremely dangerous. So one of the first things that when I learned about them, Charles Hall told me, he said, you've got to be real careful because if you make a mistake, they will snap your neck or shoot you like they panic almost. Because I guess there's a lot of humans and there's only a few of us.
But don't you mistake them with Pleiadians? Like, aren't they one of the same?
I guess in some ways it could be because they are tall, but they've got like weird feet, and they kind of look like the aliens from Arrival, at least from the waist down.
Right.
They look almost kind of like a cross between like energy and a solid kind of ball-headed human. I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird.
I've just heard through the years a lot of people have really had good experiences with them, more than not good.
Well, because there's different tall whites. You got tall white grays. You got the human type aliens, which some people call tall whites. See, the thing about the human aliens is there are only one or two things with them. They either really, really like you have a really great experience with them, like, lifting, spiritual, mental experience with them. Or because they think we're their trash cousins in a way, you have really shitty experience.
Trash cousins.
But there's nothing in between. See, with the Grays, it's different. The Grays start you out in the middle because they really don't know what, because they're doing their thing when you're a kid. And then they develop relationships with you. So the Grays know you intimately. They know you all the way back to your great-great-great-great-grandmother removed 100 times. They're very familiar with your family, who you are, your body, your mind, your soul. They know more about it than you do. They could tell you more about Amelia today than you could figure out in your own head. It's your body and your
you healthy, and that they would be against anybody trying to make you unhealthy.
They're very protective of their contactees. They will remove a contactee from a mill-lab situation in a heartbeat. And a lot of times there can even be damage to the people who mill-lab. So the government's so funny, but there used to be a big mill-lab thing going on. And then somebody said that the government gave Carla Turner cancer to kill her because she had really busted the mill-lab thing wide open. And 6 months later, 2 of the divisions that investigated, both of them died in massive fires. But they said the heat of the fire was so hot that it actually melted the steel rods inside the building, which were set at 2,500 degrees. Sounds like a plasma fire sometime. Probably the girls got pissed. They don't like you screwing with their contactees. That's their, in a way, they kind of consider you like a pet or property. They're like, keep your damn fingers to yourself. And because they take a long time to teach you the things they want you to understand, and things they want, because most contactees will never get it. They just don't. They can't get past the fear that they're, even though this one Gray's been abducted him for 30 years, they still can't seem to get past fear. And usually those get turned off. Usually around 34, 35, they just turn those off and stop visiting. They're not useful. They're never going to develop any abilities to help to do whatever they're doing. So you just turn them off.
Consciously, there's this instilled fear, maybe because of experimentation. Maybe it sits in the subconscious. Maybe people don't necessarily know why they have that fear.
Well, it's not that the abductee or contactee doesn't deserve to feel like that. They do. But a lot of people go past that.
Right.
So especially the ones that remember the visitations of children, remember that they're friendly. They're not hostile. The nasty stuff don't start to puberty. It only lasts for about a decade. But, in that decade, they do a lot of stuff that humans will not consider to be fun. There's a lot of experiments they put you through and a lot of stuff they want you to learn that we won't consider. We can technically be considered to be hostile. Even though the Greys won't sexually do anybody to anything, they do sexual experiments, but they're not like the reptilians and humans that actually have sex with humans. The Greys don't do that. The Greys actually have more respect for us.
It's hard to feel, like to feel warmth towards a being who you think, like for myself as a parent, okay, like I may have reached a comfort level with it, but the thought that it may have happened to my children would make me volatile.
It makes you mad. And it should make you mad. That's the problem. It does.
Yeah.
And what's really weird, because the reptilians and humans have children. So they should understand it. things. They both still have children. Grays don't have children in the way we think of children. They're not raised and grown. They're like thrown in this thing, and then the energy is uploaded in their head. They're not really adding much new to their populations. I guess they're large enough that they feel comfortable where they are. Reptilian humans are still growing civilizations like us. They still have children, and even though they don't have to physically do it anymore, they still do, and that's what they feel comfortable with. So they just think of us as willing or unwilling partners, how you want to look at it. Because the Greys look great, the reptilians do two things. They'll either do it right out forcefully, and then there's only two ways to make them stop, or they'll trick you. They'll come in as someone beautiful or handsome, like you wouldn't believe, something you can't even take your eyes off.
They shapeshift like a demonic entity.
They don't really shapeshift and per se physically shapeshift. They make you think they're okay. Anything around them, anybody close nearby are going to see the same thing. So you'll see, like with a good friend of mine, she had this guy. He was about 6'3". He was blonde hair, well built, good looking. She took a picture of him. The guy was just stunning. I mean, you could look at him and you think, wow. And and she said when he talked, he had a very commanding voice. People would stop and listen. Yeah, it's telepathic. That's why. He was always in her head. He said she was always talking about his sex was great. He was great. Everything was great. And everywhere he went, people just adored him and fondled over him. Yeah, because he's giving off this overflowing energy of who he is, and that's in deep down, he's a reptilian. And if for some reason he was losing his concentration for any given amount of time, everyone would see a reptilian. See, the way I taught her this is under hypnosis. We found out, but I said, look, I don't want you to think we're training you. So I said, I want you to go back and start remembering contacts with him. I said, next time you remember laying on the table and you see him, I just want you to reach out and rub your hand up and down his arm and tell me what it feels like. I said, just subconsciously, don't think about it, just reach out, rub his hand, his arm, tell me what it feels like. The first time she did it, she said, he feels a little cooler than we do, and the skin feels like suede. She said, it's very soft, very bumpy, but she said, it doesn't feel like human skin. I said, and then at that moment, I said, open your eyes and tell me what you see. And she flipped out. And she's looking at like a 7'1" reptilian who's probably 650 pounds, twice as wide as I am, maybe 3 times as wide as I am. And she said, she flipped out. She said, I've been making love to this for 2 years. And it was weird because one of the first things she told me when she met this guy the first time she had sex, she had to go to the doctor. She had tears inside, like something sharp or something had caught. And the doctor was kind of blatant with it and said, what kind of toys were you using? That was his words, actually. She sent me the thing. And she said, I didn't think nothing of it. She said, next time it wasn't like that. She said, I just never, thought anything about it, really. She said, I just figured something weird happened and went on from it. I was like, it's definitely something weird. But yeah, they have the ability to make you see. All of them have the ability to make you see what they want you to see. We learned that with Grays, because if you get a group of people who see the Gray, every person describes it in Gray different. You have 10 people see that Gray, and everyone describes it different. You can't get it's because whatever the images you're thinking you're seeing is what you're seeing. The night we had the 15-16 in Florida, that Gray came down that pole. We all see him come down that pole like a cockroach and then stand up. And when you asked for the description of the Gray, he was between 3 and 5 foot tall. Some people said his eyes were big and black and round. Some people said it was just you couldn't get an identical description. And none of us were more than 10 feet from it. None of us. Matter of fact, Michael and them and Kay and all them were within 5 feet of it. And it still couldn't give an identical description. I was like, which is not uncommon for humans. They tell you eyewitness testimony. See, that's another thing. So eyewitness testimony can get you to death sentence. But if you say, Cooper, you saw an alien, nobody's going to pay attention to you. But yeah, if you told a judge you seen somebody kill somebody, it's a double standard when it comes to evidence. So eyewitnesses are fine for crimes, but when it comes to seeing strange stuff, eyewitnesses are not. And so I said, well, maybe it's the character. And I said, I can see that in some people. I said, but there's a lot of people in the field that have really good, inapproachable characters. So I said, that's not going to work for all of this. Yes, Cal, Amelia is an alien. Yes.
Well, with that being said, we are pretty much coming to the end of the show. So do you want to plug yourself or?
Oh, a couple of things before we go. Okay, guys, sometime in the next day or two, it might already be up. I didn't check, but this show is up for a People's Choice Award. My show, The Essentials, is up for a People's Choice Award, and the Writers of the Future, John Goodwin Show, is up for a People's Choice Award.
Yay!
Tomorrow night, discuss what if you have a boy want to come here. We're going to be discussing it tomorrow night. Where you can find it. It's going to be going. There's going to be a massive blitz campaign across the whole network, starting probably in less than a week. Voting starts in July, so everybody you know anybody, People's Choice, you get over here and tell them vote for us. I'll be doing some guest appearances over the next few days, so we'll be talking about that. But we will have them on tomorrow night on the Centralist, and we will be discussing the People's Choice Awards. We want to win, people. Look, I won Best Local Broadcaster.
We're going to win.
And I got runner-up this year for Best National Broadcaster, so that'll be up on the site this week. So, I mean, guys, we also got one of the top 5 broadcasters in the UK and Best Paranormal Broadcaster in the UK. And we ain't even over there. We over here. See, the UK's showing us love, baby. They're showing us the love.
There we go.
Speaking of which, I spoke to our guest from last night, Rick McCollum, today, and Scottish Paranormal was listening to the show, the group that he was talking about, all the way from Scotland. So, really there for them.
Yes,
that's great. That's good.
Go email me. Yes, no, I did find out recently. I got a lot of Scottish, Irish, Welsh blood. Yes. Since I'm supposed to be Italian, I was very surprised to see how little Italian blood I had and how much of the other one.
Poor Joe. He just eats Italian.
Well, no, I mean, my last name's Montaldo. I mean, this province is named after us over there, and my descendants is supposed to be from Venice. But apparently, somebody got fudged around somewhere in the family and got something screwed up because it's like 80% English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish. Yes, I wonder where that badass temper came from when I drank. Now I know. I thought it was that damn Native American. I mean, apparently it's worse. But you know what? My grandmother used to always tell us she was half Indian and half Scottish, and that's why she used to like to drink and scream. I was like, really, Biggs? That works for me. I'm gonna go for that. She had a temper from hell. She was a redhead too. She's like, whoo, man. First time I introduced my wife to her, my wife was like, because I said, I come over and I said, Biggs, I want to use your car. I said, shop. You always want something. You want money. You win. She's cussing me down, started hollering. It was like, we weren't even married. So she's like, maybe we should just leave her alone for a while. She just ran and raved, and she started, here, take the car. You need some money. Take my damn money too. Just get out of here. And it's like she's harmless. This is how she is. And then we got back to the I love John. You had a good time. And it's like, this is who she was. It's just the person. When she was young, she had a bad drinking problem. She had to go to AA for it. But she was an abductee contacted. She's a very gifted tarot reader, and she had a conflict with herself. She because she was part of her religious, so she was conflicting between reading her tarots and God. She thought it was a sin. And when she would ask people, oh, that's paranormal stuff, that is a sin. And of course it wasn't. I don't see tarot cards mentioned anywhere in the Bible. So I'm thinking it is not really a sin, but she was conflicted by it. And she never really realized that she was having other experiences. She knew because she talked about little people and stuff from time to time, but she didn't really understand what it was. It probably made a difference in life.
That's difficult for a lot of people who have abilities, because you're taught in the church that it is.
All right, people. I'm 7 hours into COVID. I feel like I might be turning into.
Oh, great. Freaking wear your freaking tin hats, because this guy will eat anything that freaking moves.
Right?
Hey, I watched it.
Nothing going to affect you, Joe, because seriously.
Just saying.
Actually, so far, people, the station does not, before I'm going to say what I'm going to say, the station does not recommend whether you get a shot or not. Like I said, I got one. There's lots of hosts that haven't. It's up to you. I'm just relaying. I told everybody that we'll be doing this for the next few days, that I would tell everybody how I felt from the shot, how the whole process went. Everything was really easy. I signed up. It took all about 15 minutes to sign up. I did it online. Then they scheduled an appointment for the day. Walked in, maybe signed some stuff, get my insurance card. And then she said, well, we don't need your insurance card to cover it. So let me give you a shot, give me a shot. Maybe sit there for 20 minutes, make sure I wasn't going to explode or something, and then send me home. And so
that's
far,
the same as the flu shot. You have to sit there and wait.
So far, they side effects
grow like an extra head or something, then we know we're good.
That's right. Because we're
We'll know tomorrow. We'll know in 24 hours, up to 14 days. Just saying.
Oh no, for me, so for down here, so we got the new stats. So I'll give you out to them real quick. So Johnson Johnson is 100% effective from keeping you from dying. It is not 100% effective from keeping you from getting COVID. It's 86%.
We're gonna get booted off of YouTube.
No. There's nothing we're saying. I'm actually quoting the CDC on this.
Okay,
so you're 86% effective as a general virus.
That is my
72% effective. 100% effective from keeping you from dying. No, it's
I've been ready to log off for 10 minutes.
Opinions expressed from UPRN's own Joe Montaldo did not reflect those.
Hey, I'm not saying it's bad or good.
Not reflect.
When it comes down to make up your own mind. Believe who you want to believe on. Do whatever you want.
Absolutely, and we don't endorse or promote any of the different companies, pharmaceutical companies either. Just saying.
Yeah, because in my job,
I'm getting delirious now.
I know.
I got the Johnson Johnson. My wife got the Moderna shot. She hasn't turned into a pumpkin.
Okay. I am logging off. So I am now going to say we've come to another end of an awesome segment here in the Outer Realm. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Thank you to our special guest and our friend, Joe Montaldo. Huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for partially sponsoring tonight's show. Please remember to stop by the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network's YouTube channels and subscribe. That way you get double the fun. And while you're at it, feel free to pop over to our group pages, all of us, especially on the Outer Realm, since we're fairly new. Follow us on Instagram. If you'd like to see a specific guest or topic on the show, please email us at theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com. Again, theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com, or just drop us a note on the Outer Realm Facebook group page. Until then, feel free to join us next week because we have more amazing guests coming. We've got Darcy Weir joining us, and we'll be talking some crypto. And on Thursday, once again, we have the fabulous Mr. Freddie Silva, who will be returning to wow us with more of his research. So fantastic lineup. It's going to be a blast. Until then, Amelia, Joe, and myself, thank you and have a great night and fantastic safe weekend. But don't forget to catch Joe and I on the Gray Zone Uncensored this coming Saturday, 5 to 7 Central, 6 to 8 Eastern time. And Joe, you're on tomorrow night with the Centralist at what time?
9 to 11, and I'll have John Goodwin and Emma Goodwin with me for the Outer Realm. For the Central. Sorry.
All right. So good night, everybody. Thank you.